Hello, everyone. I am Perry Nemroff from Collider, and I am so honored to be here moderating this post-screening Q&A with the filmmakers behind The Killing of Two Lovers, thanks to the fine folks at Landmark. Please join me in welcoming writer-director Robert Machoyan. And then we also have the star of the movie, Clayne Crawford, here. I'm so happy to see you guys again and to see the journey the film's been on since Sundance and to see it hitting the big screen. I can't tell you how thrilled I am about all that.
Oh, thank you.
So,
Thank you so much.
I'm coming to you first right now. First feature as a solo director is a pretty big deal. Would you say that you were well prepared to helm a feature on your own, or was there any specific learning curve that maybe surprised you on this?
Yeah, I mean, I did feel well prepared. I felt prepared to be able to do something in kind of the short amount of time and limited resources, because I had made some films with Rodrigo and experienced that. Where I was a little underprepared was understanding our collaboration fully. The scene where Nikki and David are kind of arguing for the first time with the dummy. We did one take of that, and I looked over to Oscar and I was like, "Was that good?" And he looked at me. He's like, "What are you talking about? I'm just looking at the frame. I'm not paying attention to their performance at all." And I was so used to being able to ask Rodrigo, how things were going, and we would often have those discussions. And that was the part that was new for me, was learning like, hey, I'm the one, I'm the only one deciding, if the take is working or not working.
One could say that's why you bring aboard stellar actors, so you don't even have to worry about that part. So, Clayne, I remember you telling me that you and Robert had wanted to work together for something like 10 years before this project came together. So it did make me curious. How did you two first meet? And what was it about Robert then that told you this is a creator that I like and I want to stick with?
We met in 2009 at Sundance. Robert had Jack and the Rabbit, and I had Perfect Host up there. And we had both seen one another's films, and Robert had reached out to my reps and sent me a script that I just fell in love with. I've said before, that year I had a stack of material, and the two scripts that just completely blew me away was Rectify and Robert's script that he had sent me. And we tried to get that film made for a couple of years and couldn't get it made. And we were just having trouble. We had shot like a proof of concept together, trying to get people to fund our film. And we were just it was quite challenging getting someone to kind of see what Robert's vision was for a film and what I was able to kind of see that he had the skill set. And I called Robert in 2018. I was just like, let's just go make a film, man. I think Robert, one thing I enjoyed about his films was just how natural and everyone was. I know that Robert had worked with non-actors for all of his features and his shorts. And I just said, look, what if I'm able to bring a couple actors to the table and a little bit of money? And because what I wanted to do as a producer, not just as an actor, but as a producer, I wanted to give Robert an opportunity to make something that didn't change necessarily what he had been doing. I didn't want to shake up the formula necessarily. I just wanted to incorporate something new, which again was the actors, while using his children and his father, who he had worked with previously. And to answer your question, I felt there was an honesty to Robert's work. And I felt he created a world that allowed actors to thrive.
So was it a situation where you didn't, get funding in a more traditional sense where, some investors swooped in and gave you the money to make the movie, and it was coming from the folks that were involved?
Yeah.
I wrote the check.
Yeah, that some investor was Clayne Crawford.
A plunge well worth taking, I'll tell you that.
Well, look, let's not lose our shirts here, right? I said, look, I've got 50 grand. Okay. Yeah. I never did. I think we were going to make a movie that anyone was going to go watch. I was just like, look, I'll give you 50 grand. Let's go shoot something. And that'll kind of be like a proof of concept. And we'll go, hey, we did this for $50,000. If you give us $1 million, look what we can turn it into. And, but as a result, Robert and I didn't have anyone that was kind of holding anything over our heads as it relates to the cut, meaning we don't need it to be a specific way for we're trying to make our money back or we're worried about this. We truly just trusted our gut and our heart throughout the process. And I think that was very exciting for me. But for Robert, that's the only way he's ever created. Robert just shot films and then he trusted his own instincts and submitted them. And they just happened to go to Sundance and Toronto and South by every single time.
All right, let's get into the casting of it all here. Actually, Robert, I have a million questions for you about working with your family, mainly because I have a very loving family that I enjoy spending time with, but I don't think we could ever make a movie together. Maybe let's go with I'm sure you learn something new on every film you make and with every individual that you work with, but what's something in your actor's director toolkit, so to speak, that you would specifically credit with working with your kids on set?
Yeah, I mean, so the first short film I made was with my son Elias that Clayne was talking about. And what you learn when you make your first short film with a 3.5-year-old is like they're not going to hit their marks, right? I mean, there's one specific scene in that film that we shot a couple times where I was like, look, I just need you to go pick up some bottles. And he was walking and then he sees a stick and he's like, oh, a stick. And, takes it right. And I'm like, no, we got to get the bottle. And like the challenge of getting him to a bottle to pick up was very challenging. But what you learn early on is to let go and allow like a collaborative process, because you can't get specifics. And a lot of my friends in film school, because they were working with kind of local actors, I mean, they would get very specific. They're like, you take 3 steps here and you say this line, and then you take 5 steps over here and they would beat this whole thing out. And many of the times, in my own personal opinion, they weren't actually even taking advantage of the actors. They were like, you're a robot, say my dialogue, hit my marks, and then my movie, because I'm the director. And I just learned it was not possible to be that kind of. So I've always approached in directing, where is the actor approaching the material? Like, how are they interpreting the scenes and the dialogue right off the bat? And often I go like, okay, let's just play it out so that I get an understanding of what they're contributing. And that comes directly from learning so early on that like whatever is right in my head, the map is not completely possible when you're working with children. And I just was able to bring that over to actors, which as a result, for me anyways, was getting to watch. I mean, I have 3 extremely talented actors. Why not try and maximize what they can do?
So we've already established that you two have known each other for quite some time, but Clayne, what was it like stepping on this set where Robert had worked with a bunch of the crew already, his family was there? Did it feel like a well-oiled machine already? And if it did, maybe what is a quality about that well-oiled machine that you wish you saw more out there?
I don't know if I would describe The Killing of Two Lovers a well-oiled machine. I would say more of like a covered wagon with the determination to get west. I think that we all had a love, because certainly it wasn't financial reasons that we were all there. We had an appreciation for what Robert had written, and I think we were all grateful for the opportunity. And I think as a result, and when I say opportunity, the opportunity to make something with more resources than Robert had had previously, without the kind of the golden carrot being dangled in front of your face, where he truly could make the film that he wanted to make. And I think that collective energy going into a film is what's missing, in my opinion. I mean, look, this is why I just turned 40 when we went to go make this film. And I was like, look, man, if we can't go do this, then I've got to figure out something else. If it's not love and determination and worrying about what goes on the screen, if that's not what matters, then I don't know what I'm doing. And I felt the same way.
I feel like I'd rather be on the wagon of determination, maybe, rather than the well-oiled machine.
You got them there.
So Robert, I am curious with the casting process, if any of the roles changed very much after you cast the roles, because this is one of those situations where now that I've seen the movie, I can't imagine this being the same movie with anyone else other than these three individuals in the lead adult roles.
Yeah, no, it was interesting. I felt the same way. There was an actor from Australia that we were trying to get for the Chris Coy role prior to Clayne kind of reaching out to Chris. And I really, he was great, but just the visa stuff didn't allow him to be involved. But I remember looking at him, and he went to the gym, he was he wasn't on Vikings, like the Sparta or whatever. So he had that Sparta body, and he was a great person, but I was a little worried, like, how is this going to play out? This guy that just is so beefy. And when Clayne eventually reached out to Chris, and that was very exciting because he was working on Deuces. He had a lot going on. He didn't need to come out. His wife was kind of like, "What are you doing?" And he was like, Clayne asked me, and it's great. I'll come out. And the second because he kind of transforms his body a lot. And so the second he rolled into Kanash, I was like, oh, thank heavens. He's like another, like Clayne and him are like mirrors of each other in a way where it makes sense that Nikki is dating someone very close to kind of Chris in a way, kind of build. And he wasn't like so much huger that you were worried about squashing. That was the only one that kind of, we were going in one direction, and then the right thing happened, which you have to allow the universe to set things in place. Seppi, Clayne reached out to Libby Goldstein, who sent us her after looking at the kids, and it was obvious as we watched. She didn't even audition with our material. They just sent us a tape from something else. And what was critical to me was that she was interested in the nuances, like the movement of the body, which is very important to me. And then I found out later that she comes from a dancing background, which I was, again, so very thankful for, because she understood the nuances. I can't really imagine another cast either. There's not like, oh, it could have been so-and-so. So it just lined up. And that was one of the things that I think, when you're making films, you look for these, like, they're kind of like signs, but they're these little green lights that just keep hitting that you're moving in the right direction. And the second they both rolled and we did our first table read, which was like the night before we started shooting, it was like musicians playing the instruments at their best.
And I got a specific character question for you now, because I've heard you talk a bit about how you liked the fact that the movie doesn't reveal why the two of them separated, but that did make me wonder, did you at least need to know the reason in order to get into the character? And if you didn't find out the reason, what is it about the not knowing that best served your portrayal of David?
I guess I did, when I say I didn't need to know specifically why Robert felt that they had separated. I think I was excited that the audience didn't know. And for me, just because I didn't feel like it was necessary, why, which I feel like so many films want to address the why. For us, we just came in the middle of the shitstorm, I mean, I've kind of said David's foot's already on the pedal and he's standing up on it, at that point. What's the question again?
Do you know the specific reason? Is that something the two of you had to discuss?
Oh, the specific reason for me, I felt like the fact that she had kind of gone to work, she was career driven. And that's why Robert and I when we were kind of discussing the look of David and why I liked Chris was so clean cut, and yeah, he had facial hair, but it was quite manicured and specific. And I felt like that David needed to be quite disshuffled. And I think all of us can relate to being with a partner for so long, and the partner begins to kind of let themselves go because of the world and the love and the bubble that they've created for one another. And I think it's easy to have your head turned by a guy who might have a gym membership and, drives a shiny vehicle and takes care of himself in a way that's unlike what she's used to, and this driven. So I could understand, and again, I think that's why it was so critical who we cast as Tall Man, which is the name of the script, because I felt it had to be. Robert kind of suggested that we're very similar in physicalities, which I can understand, kind of that playing into Nikki relating to someone. But I also wanted, for me, it was quite clear that her head got turned, and that she's just kind of gotten bored with the situation that she had at home. And I think we can all relate to that at some point in a relationship we've had in our lives.
Yeah, I can feel the weight of it when you watch the movie. I'm wondering what it was like for you, Clayne, going into your next project after filming this movie this way, because I imagine it's a bit of a luxury to be able to film something straight through without the starting and the stopping. So was it hard to readjust when you moved on to your next project that might have been shot more traditionally?
I've been, like I said, I jumped into this at 40. And the past 3 years, I've dedicated myself to only doing things that I really want to do. And I've only shot 3 films, including this film. So only 2 films since this, and Robert was one of the other directors. So I went right back to Robert, and we jumped right back in. And for me, what are we doing it for? That was my question I asked myself, is why am I doing this? And if you don't have the luxury, and we didn't have it on our second film, by the way. On our second film, the treadmill was already set to 15, and we just had to jump on. So it was all we could do not to bust our faces open. So we were kind of figuring out as we go. But one thing that I will say, working together, is that we both care so much. We don't need anyone kind of holding us accountable. And when I have someone that cares as much as Robert does, it makes my job very easy. I know that he's doing everything on his end to capture it. I just need to make sure that I show up and do my part. And I don't always feel that way on sets. So there's a safety that goes with working with someone like Robert. And I think when you feel safe, it allows you to be vulnerable and kind of open yourself up. So to answer your question, Perry, I haven't gone to another set where they hide us away in our trailers and come and knock on the door only when it's time to do our part.
So I guess that's the perfect segue then to ask you guys, what's brewing now? What do we have to look forward to with that next film?
Yeah, we just shot in November the Integrity of Joseph Chambers, which is exciting. Again, trying to capture these themes that are existing in America. This film really explores this kind of paranoia of this character, Joe, who is worried that the world's going to end, which I think some of us really feel like we're pretty close to that. And as a result, he feels like he needs to learn how to hunt, and he really has no business hunting, no business being anywhere with a rifle. And so we explore that complicated aspect of where we in our own lives panic and do things that we shouldn't be, out of sheer panic.
I cannot wait to see that one. I'm glad we're getting this one again on the big screen. A big thanks to Landmark for having the movie here and for screening this Q&A. I love getting back into that vibe. All the best with that movie. And thank you guys for your time today. And to everybody out in the audience, if there is someone in your life who has not seen The Killing of Two Lovers on the big screen, might I recommend suggesting it to them? Thank you guys again.
Thank you so much.
Welcome back to theaters, everybody.
Yes, welcome back.